formula to it. A very simple formula.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Slasher Podcast. This episode is a little bit more specific about a type of horror movie, I guess, which I don't think I've really done before, on the podcast at least. I will be talking about remakes of horror movies, and specifically horror movie remakes that some are better than the original and some are worse than the original. I think it's important to know that in certain situations, some of these movies are better, like bits and pieces are better, and sometimes they're just completely bad in one way or the other. And all of this is just my personal opinion. All of it is my opinion. Don't take it. If you enjoy these movies that I will be talking about, don't worry about it. It's all good. You can like what you like. I'm just going to kind of discussing my opinions on some of these things that I don't necessarily love about remakes of movies that have come out recently. And I'll be kind of talking about that a little bit, more specifically with Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday, and Halloween. That's kind of where I'm talking, but I also have The Thing on here, and we'll get there in a little bit. But before we get started, if you have not listened to my other episodes of the Sasha Podcast, please do listen to them. I love talking, and I do prefer from episode 4 above, I really like. But if you want to listen to all of them, they're not bad. None of them are terrible, but I like episode 4 or 5 and above is kind of where I kind of hit my mark and kind of how I like to do these kinds of things. Before we get started, if you wanted to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, it is at @slashithorror. You just kind of get it started, just kind of to get it kind of going. I think part of this reason why horror movies get remade is IP. It's all IP. So I think that part of this, the issue really is we have to get IPs, and we can't really create something new. We have to put a title onto it. And that's kind of where I wanted to start with Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween. Because I feel like with the remake of Halloween, he had some amazing ideas. Not amazing necessarily. I didn't love it. But if it wasn't Michael Myers and it was a different serial killer, like the intros, the introductions, and everything was played the same, I think I would like that movie a lot more. But the issue is, and then you flash forward to 15 years after 95% of the movie, and you just get a quick recap of everything that happened in Halloween in 30 minutes. And I don't love how, I guess what I'm saying is I don't like how they tried to make and create such an idiotic, for lack of a better word, version of the original Halloween. It's just a quick recap. Look, this happened, Bob's death. Here we go. We're going. He gets shot, boom, he falls out of the window, boom. Oh no, you thought it was over, and then they add maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the end of what normally happens in Halloween, and I don't think it's enough for me to be like, that was worth it, this was worth it, this was all worth it. But if they took the first half of Halloween 2007, and I think it was 2007, yeah, and put that on top of just its own thing, I think I would enjoy it a lot more. But because it was tacked on with the name Halloween, you had the mask, you had all of these stupid things, but all of these just forced in ideas. I don't think I get why these things are done the way they are. I don't think they should be. I think that we should start creating, especially in horror, where the first half of that movie would be a great addition to a Rob Zombie's filmography if it didn't just have Halloween tacked on to the end of it. I know that was a studio decision, but screw the studios. At least sometimes when they make weird decisions like this. I think because it's just really important to understand that sometimes a creator has to have their vision, and it makes a better movie. And whether or not that this would have been better without the remake, or yeah, the remake part of Halloween 2007 at least, that it would be better. And I want to talk about one more thing. It takes a much more Jason-esque like creation to this, where I don't think that we should have. I think that it works better without being Jason. Like Michael Myers is Jason in this movie, and in the original, compared to the original is just a crazed person killing people, right? But we put this weird like understanding of the character that shouldn't have been there into the movie, and I think it works best if we didn't have that. And I think we need to try to make sure that we don't get, like, whenever they make another Halloween after Halloween ends, like, if they reboot it again, which I hope to God they don't, let's just end it. But anyways, let's end the Michael Myers storyline. If they want to go the anthology route, go the anthology route, recreate Season of the Witch, cool. If they don't, they're going to reboot it, and then I'm not ready for that. But if they're trying to create a series of movies that don't really make sense, like, I don't want them to reboot these at all, because we already have a remake, we have the original, and we have 7 different timelines. If you want to remake something, remake Season of the Witch with the proper budget that movie needed. But like, you compare Michael Myers from the 2007 one, where he's a big hulking wrestler, to Halloween 1978, where he's a very skinny, lanky man, and he just has a knife. That's all that he has. He couldn't destroy you with his biceps. Like, he couldn't crush your head with his biceps like he could in Halloween 2007. And personally, that's less scary to me. Well, unlike where Michael Myers in Halloween, the original, he could be hiding on a bookshelf somewhere and jump down and kill you because he's that tiny. Or he can be hiding in a closet, he's that tiny. He can hide anywhere and you'd never see him, under your bed. A 250-pound like wrestler could not fit under your bed. That's what scares me about Halloween, the original. But then you get the remake, and it's kind of the exact opposite of that. It's very Jason Voorhees-esque feeling, I guess, is the way to put it. So I want to move on to The Thing from Another World and The Thing by John Carpenter, because they're kind of in the same vein here. The Thing from Another World is a 50s movie, and The Thing, John Carpenter, is an 80s movie. The Thing, John Carpenter's version, is personally my favorite. The Thing from Another World is actually what's playing on the TV in Halloween, which is cool that he then remade it later. So, The Thing from Another World is very, very, like, it's a 50s horror movie. I don't know how much I need to say other than that. It's very, like, dulled, at least in comparison to The Thing. It's not a bad movie by any means. No, I do not mean that it's a bad movie, but I don't enjoy it as much as The Thing. The Thing is a pioneer of physical effects in the way that it would be used for decades after. But The Thing from Another World, it takes the beats of that movie. Like, what worked in The Thing from Another World was brought and taken and put into The Thing by John Carpenter's version. And I don't think that the original really holds its weight compared to The Thing. Like, I think The Thing is the better version of that story in comparison to the version that was in the original. Like, you have some of the craziest effects ever in John Carpenter's version, and it is one heck of a ride. If you've never seen that movie, I will not be spoiling it for you, but it is one of my favorite horror movies I've ever seen, just simply because of the effects and because of the ending of the movie. It does everything that I like in a horror movie, and I think that is one of the reasons why I love The Thing so freaking much. And now we are getting into something that I even personally really do not like, the remake of this movie. and we are talking about the original Nightmare on Elm Street versus the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, this is gonna be a long. This is gonna be a little annoying probably to listen about. So the original Nightmare on Elm Street, again, it is a pioneer of, like, it fully used the original and the physical, like, practical effects. And, like, there's the scene where Freddy Krueger is sticking his head through the sheet, I guess, like, through the wall. That's practical in the original version. In the remake, they do that same exact scene, but it's done digitally. And it looks bad compared to the original, where it's literally Robert Englund sticking his head and hands through latex. It's such a visceral difference between both of them. Like, you can tell immediately which one's fake and which one's not. It's obvious. And I personally think that makes it a lot worse. I don't really enjoy a lot of the remake, especially because some of the other issues in that movie. It makes Freddy Krueger so I won't say it exactly, but you know who Freddy Krueger is, and the bad parts of Freddy Krueger that we don't really talk about in the original as much, that kind of thing, that is much more heavily implied and outright stated in the remake. And there's a little bit of an interesting thing that maybe they kind of discuss a little bit about what if Freddy Krueger was innocent, and they talk about that and they touch on that a little bit, but then they really don't move into that as much as they probably should have in order to make that at least a somewhat worthy idea, plot point thing. It really doesn't make any fucking sense on why they went the route they did. So one more thing I want to talk about really quickly is, so in the remake, the characters are all, you have like, they don't even subvert at all. Like, there's no difference in the remake versus the original. It's just because around this time, Halloween was 2007, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake came out in 2003, Nightmare on Elm Street came out in 2010, the Friday the 13th remake came out in 2009. You have all of these remakes coming out. They're just like, okay, well, let's just do the exact script from the original. Pretty much is what they did. They changed, like, nothing. I think they took out some little scenes, but that's all they did. All they did was omit. They never added. Can't think of anything, except potentially they added a little bit more about the... Okay, so I will give it two things. So they talked about microsleeping a little bit more in the remake, which they talked about in the original, but it was never overtly, like, a plot point. And there's this scene in the pharmacy where she falls asleep kind of while she's walking through the pharmacy, and she keeps, like, going in and out of dreams, and Freddy Krueger's there, and eventually she dies. I'm pretty sure she dies in that scene. I don't know. She gets hurt in some way or the other in that pharmacy. And I like that scene. It's really creepy. But there's just so much other negatives to that movie that it's hard for me to give it compliments when I hate a lot of it. Like, most of that movie is just not good. I think that a lot of this movie could have been fixed if they simply tried to remake it better. They were remaking it for a cash grab, which is very obvious. Like, it's obvious when you watch this movie that it's all a cash grab. That is one movie that I do not think needed to be remade. I mean, Halloween did not need to be remade, but at least in the remake they did something different. In the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, they did nothing different. In the Friday the 13th remake, they didn't really... I mean, they did something different, but we'll talk about that in a minute, because it's a whole different bag of worms. I don't even know if you'd call that's more like a reboot. But anyways, I will be talking about that in a little bit. But just the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street is probably my least favorite remake, I think, because it makes not only does it make Freddy Krueger not scary, it makes him not even, like, like, he's not somebody I like to learn about. He's somebody that I'm not interested in hearing or knowing or caring about that he exists. I do not want to know that Freddy Krueger exists in the world of Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. It just doesn't work for me personally. Again, if you like these movies, don't yell at me. I enjoy a lot of movies that a lot of people do not like. So don't worry about that. If you enjoy it, more power to you. I'm glad that you do. But one more thing that I do want to talk about is just the feeling this movie gives. Okay, so almost everything in this movie is digital. While the Nightmare on Elm Street, the series, was a pioneer of practical effects. And I think it plays into just how much this remake doesn't really work out very well and hold up almost 12 years later. It just doesn't. I mean, it is. Yeah, I think it's about 12 years. It just doesn't work out very well. It just does not work. Personally, again, this is all personal. Don't take it however you want. But it's not my favorite or my cup of tea in how that I would appreciate this movie to be. Is much different. Just trying to do something different. I mean, they had a Jackie, the guy who plays Freddy Krueger, they had him on for a sequel to this movie, but it failed and nobody liked it, so they just ended up not doing it. And it's been 12 years since then. The Friday the 13th remake, which we will be talking about right now, it's been... Crap, how many years has that been? That's been 11 years since that movie came out. And... yeah, that's too long. So how do you even talk about this remake? The Friday the 13th remake is more of a remake of the entire first four, or first four, and then like bits and pieces of the rest of the movies, except 5 and like Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X are not really there, but like parts 1 through 4, it's kind of just a quick recap of parts, especially 2, 3, and 4. Part 1, Friday the 13th, the namesake, is not really included very much in this. I mean, you get the ending of Friday the 13th and the beginning of the remake. Like, not the original, but like a weird redone version of it that you really don't need. Just give it to us in a casual way and not such in a, like, overtly ham-fisted way. That's something I really did not love about this, is just how, like, everything is ham-fisted. It's like, here's Jason doing a sleeping bag kill. Here's Jason cutting someone's head off. Here's Jason doing this. Here's Jason doing that. Do you remember when Jason did that in this movie? All of it was like that, and I did not love that. But okay, I have to give this movie credit where the credit is due. So there's a little bit of a spoiler for the first 20 minutes of this movie, this remake. It is one of the best sequences in any Friday the 13th movie, in my opinion, is the first 20 minutes of the remake. It is scary, it's terrifying, it's intense. The way it just smashes to the Friday the 13th title card with Jason running at you scares the shit out of me. But then it just quickly dives off. Like, quickly. Like, if the whole movie was just the first 20 minutes of the movie, I would give it props. Like, this would probably be one of my favorite entries. Like, if the whole movie kept tonally consistent with the first 20 minutes of the movie, it would have been fine. And I don't understand why they decided that they needed to change it so much. Like, it is a whole different movie after that period of time. Like, it actually held one of the longest pre-credit scenes in the history of cinema. Was this opening to the Friday the 13th movie. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty dang sure that's what I learned. And it's such a long just intro, and it really sets up a version of this movie that I wanted, and then they do not do that version of the movie. So I can't handle why, or can't fathom why they decided to not go the route that they originally were going to go. Like, so just for like comparison's sake, so right now, at about this time right now, I have been recording this podcast. I don't know what it would be unedited, but like edited. But right now I'm about 40 seconds, 20 minutes and 40 seconds. That's about the rate, how long the intro to this movie is. So imagine that you walked into the movie theater and you sat down and you listened to this podcast straight through. That's when the movie starts, is right after, like right now. And that's crazy because it feels like I'm setting up, like that's be like setting up a whole movie, but it ends. It's just like a quick beginning to the movie, and then it's over. It's done. And that's not something I really appreciate about this movie. I wish they kept that totally consistent throughout the whole film, but it changes and it turns into part 4 if the sister was missing, and it's like Tommy Jarvis's character, but like the less cool version of Tommy Jarvis's character was then put into trying to find his sister. And I don't love that very much. And Jason's really weird in this movie. I love the acting. The acting, he's one of the scariest versions of Jason in my opinion. I just think that a lot of what he does, I don't really understand. Like, he has this whole underground cave system that I don't understand completely. He just manages to just really just go full, just crazy, I guess, is really the way to put it. It just doesn't make any sense. So basically, the original Friday the 13th is about the mom killing for Jason. The remake is Jason killing for hiding his sister in a underground cave where he kidnapped her for some reason because he looked like his mother. Like, you see the difference there. One is very simple and the other is freaking bonkers, and I don't understand the differences there. I don't know what we're supposed to think about the remake. I don't get why, especially because they don't really tie the opening scene very well into the rest of the plot, even though the plot is all entirely revolved around the opening. So I don't really get what they were trying to go for there. Personally, I really like comparing the remake. Okay, I do not dislike the remake. I actually kind of do enjoy the remake for what it is. It's a great movie. It's just not a remake of the original. It's a remake of the first, 5 movies or something like that. Even parts of part 6 are in this movie, and I don't get why they decided to go that route. It's IP, I guess. It's all IP in this current state of the world. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that right now. I think that we should have gotten something different, and we didn't, and that makes me sad. But I also enjoy this movie for what it is. And I think my issue is I wish that the movie we got last, if we knew that 11 years would go by before another Friday the 13th movie. No, I'm thinking that wrong, aren't I? It's 11 years. No. 12, 13 years. I don't know. Whatever it is, 13, I'm getting it wrong in my head. I can't do math right now. Whatever it is, 13 years, I think. If we could just get it over with, if we knew that 13 years later, whatever years later, that would be the last movie that we would be getting in the Friday the 13th franchise for a while, I think I would have liked something different. But for what it is, I do enjoy it, and I think that's about as far as I want to talk about it, because I kind of want to make a whole separate podcast kind of discussing about specifically the remakes and that whole franchise as a whole. Okay, I wanted to go into something else a little bit different, because I have a lot of positives to say about this movie. So the 2003 remake, the year I was born, the 2003 remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, is probably my favorite remake, I think, personally. It's up there with the Friday the 13th remake, but I think it is my favorite sequel, or in the franchise of the original movie. And because it feels scary compared to the rest of them, where I don't really get scared very easily, especially in the 2022 movie. That was a whole different bag of words. So you can hear me talk about it on my YouTube channel if you want to discuss that and hear me get annoyed and how crazy that movie was. But I really like the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think it is one of my favorite sequels. I do not like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 very much. I've tried to watch it like 4 or 5 times and I just cannot get into it. If you enjoyed that movie, go for it. I'm all for it. I love what you love something. I love what I love. You love what you love. Love, love, love. That's all I care about. Especially in these horror communities, because if you like a movie, if somebody else likes a movie, so I just want to talk about this just for a second. I'm getting a little out of my own creation here, the whole plot of this podcast. But so if a horror movie that you don't like, not for any controversial reasons, but you just don't love the movie, if that movie does well, it gives New Line Cinema, Paramount, Columbia, whatever, a better chance, Universal, a more like, hey, horror is doing great right now. Let's greenlight X and Y. And X and Y might be a movie that you'll love. And I think that's kind of something that's really important. So I do not love the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie at all, right? But if that movie somehow convinces the people who are in charge of the lawsuit in Friday the 13th to make up and create another Friday the 13th, that's great. That's amazing, But I'm just saying, like, I don't understand why. Like, for example, if they brought back Freddy Krueger once, just one more time, with Robert Englund, wouldn't that be amazing? But what if everybody hated it and didn't stop shutting up, like, stop talking about how much the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie was terrible, and they didn't do it because of that? So that's kind of where I picture myself. But the 2003 remake is great. It feels very... It expands upon the original story of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Some of the kills, especially in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, is crazy. That was in 2006. It was a sequel to the remake. The remake is great. I actually really, really love the remake. If you go on my Instagram, I have this page, this DVD set of the remake, and it comes with little case files, like pictures from the movie, like really creepy pictures, like police, quote-unquote, police photos from the movie. And it came with a tin little image of the poster, but in a tin thing. And I really like that, especially since it's 19 years old as I am. I think that's great. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite things that I actually own, probably. I also own the 40th anniversary edition of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I like that thing too. But anyways, the remake is scary. It is scary again. It makes him scary, like really scary. At least personally, I do not find any of the remakes very scary. Like the sequels very scary. I find only the original and then the remake to be really that scary. But yes, thank you very, very much for listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed me talking and you want to listen to me wherever you are, you can listen to me on YouTube. I have all of my podcasts on there. But if it is not on any podcast app, it should be on every podcast app that you will ever want to listen to it on. But if it's not, let me know and I will try to fix that for you. Leave me a review and a rating wherever you are listening, because that would be great and it would be much appreciated. Well, yeah, and thank you for that, and thank you for listening wherever you are listening to this. It is so greatly appreciated, and yeah, so thank you for listening, and thank you for enjoying my content. It means more to me than you'll ever know. So thank you very much, and please do listen to my future podcast episodes, because I have a lot more stuff coming to store for you. So thank you, and like always, remember, treat every day like it's Halloween.